The sun hadn't quite broken through the clouds when Malik Johnson stepped out of his sleek black sedan. Dressed in a sharp grey suit, briefcase in hand, he looked every bit the professional. He wasn't thinking about race or power or justice, just coffee. It was a normal morning, or so he thought. He walked toward the small corner convenience store, planning to grab his usual dark roast before heading into the city. But as he approached the entrance, he noticed two white officers standing near a patrol car. Their eyes locked onto him immediately. He felt the stare before he even turned his head. "Sir, can we talk to you for a minute?" one of them said, already stepping forward. Malik stopped. He hadn't done anything. No traffic violations, no suspicious behavior. But the way they moved, aggressive, certain, told him they weren't here to chat. "Can I help you?" he asked, calm but cautious. "Need to see some ID. You fit the description of someone we're looking for." Malik paused. That line. He'd heard it before, too many times. His chest tightened, not out of fear, but frustration. He was tired of being judged before he even spoke a word. "I haven't done anything wrong," he replied firmly. "And unless you can tell me what law I've broken, I'm not obligated to show you anything." The second officer stepped in, voice low and cold. "You either show us your ID now, or we're taking you in." The air tensed. Malik stood his ground. What they didn't know was who he really was, and they were about to find out. The officers didn't expect resistance. People usually back down, especially black men. But Malik was different. He wasn't loud, he wasn't rude, he was calm. Too calm. That unsettled them more than any shouting ever could. "Sir, I'm not asking again," one of the officers said, hand resting on his belt. "This is your final warning." Malik didn't move. "Am I being detained?" The officer shifted. "You're interfering with an investigation." "There's no investigation," Malik replied. "You stopped me for no reason." Passers-by began to slow down, watching the scene unfold. A woman across the street took out her phone, subtly beginning to record. The officers noticed, but didn't back off. "We'll handle this downtown," the second officer said. "You mean you'll arrest me without cause?" Malik asked. "For standing outside a coffee shop?" One officer stepped closer, close enough to intimidate. But Malik didn't flinch. His voice remained even. "Everything you're doing is being watched. And trust me, this won't end the way you think it will." The tension hung like a blade in the air. But then, another voice cut in. "Officers, what's the issue here?" They turned. It was their superior, Sergeant David Briggs, walking up briskly, concern etched across his face. "He's refusing to show ID," one officer explained. "Matches a suspect description." Briggs looked Malik up and down, then narrowed his eyes at the officers. "I know this man," he said slowly. "Let me handle this." The officers stepped back, confused. Malik just nodded. He was done explaining himself. Sergeant Briggs took a breath, turning to Malik. "Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding." Malik didn't smile. "This isn't a misunderstanding. It's harassment." Briggs looked embarrassed, but professional. "I'll speak to them." "I'm sure you will," Malik replied. He turned and walked away. He didn't need to stay. He didn't need to argue. The real conversation would happen soon, in a place where ranks actually mattered. The two officers stood in awkward silence as Briggs pulled them aside. "What the hell were you thinking?" he asked harshly. "You just profiled a man in broad daylight." "He fit the description," one started. "No, he didn't," Briggs cut him off. "You didn't even run a check before confronting him." Briggs knew he had to file a report. Malik Johnson wasn't just anybody. He was a man with influence, and he had just been humiliated. The next morning, Sergeant Briggs sat at his desk reviewing paperwork when the receptionist buzzed in. "Sir, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent." Briggs stood up. "Who is it?" "Malik Johnson," she said. The sergeant's heart skipped. He straightened his uniform and made his way to the front. When he reached the lobby, Malik was waiting, but this time not in business casual. He was in full authority mode, tailored suit, city badge, government credentials in hand. "I'm here in an official capacity," Malik said. Briggs's eyes widened. "I'm your new superior." Silence hit the room like thunder. Sergeant Briggs stared at the badge Malik held up, his face frozen. This must be a mistake," Briggs stammered. "It's not," Malik replied calmly. "I've been appointed as the head of internal affairs." The receptionist blinked in disbelief. The two officers from the day before had wandered closer, confused, until they recognized Malik. Their expressions fell. "You remember me?" Malik asked them, turning to face them directly. "Yesterday you tried to humiliate me. Today, I oversee your careers." Sergeant Briggs stepped forward, voice softer now. "Mr. Johnson, Director Johnson, Malik corrected. The weight of those words sank in. Malik didn't come here for revenge. He came to enforce accountability. I'm not here to yell, Malik continued. I'm here because this department needs change, immediate change. The officers stood stiffly, shame written across their faces. Malik's voice hardened. I don't care about your excuses. What happened yesterday is going into your file, and from now on, every complaint against you will be investigated under my direct supervision. It wasn't just a warning, it was a declaration. Sergeant Briggs nodded, swallowing hard. Understood. Malik turned toward the door. His first act as director wasn't to fire anyone. It was to remind them all, respect isn't given by force, it's earned by principle. Whispers filled the department halls within the hour. Everyone had heard. The man profiled yesterday, now their boss, their superior, the one who could end careers with a signature. Some officers were defensive, others were embarrassed, but everyone was suddenly very aware of their actions. One officer, a younger recruit named Davis, approached Malik cautiously later that day. Sir, he said, I just wanted to say, I saw what happened, and I'm sorry. Malik appreciated the honesty. Thank you, but it's not about me. It's about the system that let this happen. The younger officer nodded. We need better. We do, Malik replied. And that's what I'm here for. Malik called a department-wide meeting. Officers gathered in the briefing room. Tension buzzed in the air. I'm not here to destroy your careers, Malik began. I'm here to hold up a mirror. He paused, scanning the room. If you treat people based on their color before you hear their voice, you're part of the problem. A few looked down. Others stared back, defensive. Malik didn't care. I believe in justice, but justice doesn't mean control, it means fairness. He clicked a remote, pulling up internal reports, complaints and stats. The numbers didn't lie, and neither did the patterns. This ends now, Malik said, and everyone knew he meant it. Not everyone welcomed Malik's leadership. Behind closed doors, a few older officers grumbled. He just wants to make a name, one muttered. He's trying to embarrass us, said another, but some started to change. Sergeant Briggs called Malik to his office. I've reviewed your proposals. They're intense, but necessary. Malik appreciated the honesty. We can't change the city overnight, Briggs added, but we can start here. Exactly, Malik said. This place can either be an example or a headline. The department began implementing new training protocols, body cam reviews, community outreach sessions. The officers who once saw Malik as an outsider now had no choice but to follow his lead, but not everyone did. One of the two original officers Malik encountered refused to adapt, and soon Malik would have to make a difficult decision. Malik sat at his desk reviewing body cam footage. The same officer, the one who had aggressively confronted him, had just received a new complaint. Unnecessary force, racial language. He called the officer in. I gave you a chance, Malik said, but clearly you've learned nothing. The officer crossed his arms. You're just trying to clean house. No, Malik said, standing. I'm trying to fix it before it collapses. He handed the officer a document. Effective immediately. Suspension without pay. Pending investigation. The officer's face turned red, but he didn't argue. He had no ground to stand on. Malik looked him in the eye. You can either grow or go. The door closed behind him. Malik exhaled. Change had begun, and he wouldn't stop now. News of Malik's suspension order traveled quickly, not just within the department, but across the city. Internal affairs under Malik Johnson wasn't just a title, it was a movement. Local news picked up whispers of reform. Officers who once dismissed him now paid close attention to every word, every policy, every inspection. But Malik wasn't interested in fame. He was focused on one thing, accountability. That afternoon, he sat with community leaders in a meeting room at City Hall. Mothers of victims, activists, retired officers, all gathered to share stories, pain, and hope. We need to feel safe again, one woman said, her voice cracking. Not afraid of the people supposed to protect us. Malik nodded. And I promise you, this department will become one that protects everyone equally, no badges above the law. Outside the station, protests were turning into conversations. Instead of chanting alone, people now saw change inside the walls. And it all started with one man being wrongly targeted and standing tall instead of stepping back. Back at the precinct, Sergeant Briggs watched Malik from his office window. There was respect now, not just for the badge, but for the man who refused to be silenced. And while the fight wasn't over, one thing was clear. Things were never going back to the way they were. 2 weeks later, the precinct rolled out its new Community First Patrol initiative. Officers would walk beats without weapons and engage with residents face to face. It was Malik's idea. Some officers pushed back. What if things get dangerous? That's why you'll have backup nearby, Malik explained. But for once, let people see a cop who's not holding a weapon. Let them see you as human first. The trial patrol launched in a local neighborhood known for tension. 2 officers, one Latino, one white, nervously walked the sidewalks saying hello to kids, waving at shopkeepers. People were skeptical at first, then surprised, and then curious. A local barber invited them in for a quick chat. A grandmother handed them bottled water. Conversations that once started with fear now began with a smile. Malik watched from a distance. This is what he wanted, not perfection, progress. Later that evening, one of the officers came to his office. "Sir, I didn't think it would work," he admitted. "But it did." Malik smiled. "That's the point. Sometimes you lead by walking with the people, not behind a badge." As changes rolled out, Malik received an anonymous email. It was from an officer. The message detailed disturbing patterns, excessive force, cover-ups, intimidation, all involving a group of officers who called themselves the Line. Malik knew about them. Old-school cops who believed change was weakness. He called Sergeant Briggs in. "I need your help," quietly. "We're investigating our own." Briggs nodded. "You want to take on the Line? That won't be easy." "I didn't take this job because it was easy," Malik said. "I took it because it was necessary." A secret investigation began. Interviews, footage reviews, anonymous tips. The more they uncovered, the worse it got. Abuse, intimidation, even altering reports. But Malik stayed quiet, watching, collecting, because when he made his move, there'd be no turning back. Malik arranged a department-wide review session. All officers required, no exceptions. He stood at the front of the room, projector ready. The mood was tense. "I know some of you don't like me," he began. "You don't have to, but you will respect the law." He clicked play. Footage began to roll. Body cam clips, audio leaks, hidden surveillance. The room froze. It wasn't just misconduct. It was betrayal of everything the badge stood for. One by one, the names appeared, faces revealed. Officers who thought they were untouchable. Gasps filled the room. "These men," Malik said firmly, "have been placed on administrative leave pending criminal investigation. This department is cleaning house, and it starts today." Some officers clapped, others sat stunned. The silence afterwards spoke louder than applause. Malik didn't flinch. He had drawn the line. Late one night, Malik's car alarm blared. He stepped outside. Nothing was stolen, but the windshield was shattered, and a slur had been scratched into the hood. He stared at it, unshaken. The next day, he arrived at work early, holding a printed photo of his vandalized car. He placed it on the briefing table. "This is what cowards do," he said to the team. "But I'm still here." Everyone in the room listened. No one interrupted. "I won't stop, because every time someone tries to silence truth, they just make it louder." Security at the station was increased. Cameras checked. Internal review expanded. Malik didn't ask for sympathy. He demanded change. And more officers, especially younger ones, began to support him openly. This wasn't just Malik's battle anymore. It had become theirs. Months passed. The precinct, once known for silence and fear, began to shift. Complaints dropped. Community trust grew. Officers attended racial bias training. Several former tough guys resigned. New recruits were chosen with care. Background, empathy, and service mindset prioritized over aggression. Malik stood outside the station one morning, watching 2 officers laugh with kids outside a corner store. Sergeant Briggs joined him. "Never thought I'd see this." "I did," Malik said quietly. Briggs nodded. "You changed everything." "No," Malik corrected. "We did." Inside, a new plaque was being mounted. It read, "Justice is not a badge, it's how you wear it." Director Malik Johnson stood at a podium delivering a speech at a local college graduation. He looked into the crowd, young faces of every color, every background. "I was once judged for the way I looked," he said. "I've been followed, doubted, and disrespected. But I never let it define me. I rose above it, and I turned every moment of disrespect into power." He paused. "You don't have to wear a uniform to demand justice. You just have to stand for what's right, even when it's not easy." Applause echoed through the hall. As Malik stepped off the stage, a student whispered, "You gave me hope." Malik smiled. Because that's what this was all about. Not revenge, redemption, and a future where no one would have to prove their worth just to be treated with dignity.